Simplified Speech Episode 161. Do you practice self-care? With Cassie and Andrew. So, Cassie, maybe we will start by talking about what we think self-care is. What is our personal definition of this term? And I will ask you to go first. Could you let us know what pops into your mind when you think of self-care? First, I think of why we might need self-care. Why we might need self-care. There's a lot of day-to-day stressors in our life, work, maybe kids, traffic, commute, and it starts to take a toll on your body and your mind. So, self-care is something that you do in order to relax, unwind, and just feel better. In order or in order to. Self-care is something that you do in order to relax, unwind, and just feel better. Nice, great definition. Yeah, I think self-care is about putting yourself first and making yourself a priority. So, like you said, in life, there are so many stressors like work, going to the office, taking care of your children, maybe family responsibilities with your extended family, maybe getting stuck in a traffic jam. Like you mentioned, you could go on and on and on. The list of things that cause us stress in life is endless. The list of things that cause us stress in the list the list of things that cause us stress in life is endless, and those can wear us down. Those can make us feel tired and make us feel terrible. And so self-care is all about making those things that stress us out and drain us out of our energy and make us feel bad. Make us feel bad, putting those aside and making ourselves the priority in life. And so taking care of ourselves first. So taking care of ourselves first as opposed to putting ourselves first as opposed to putting somebody else or something else ahead of yourself. As opposed to. So taking care of ourselves first as opposed to putting somebody else or something else ahead of yourself. Ahead of yourself. Ahead of yourself. Ahead of yourself. So taking care of ourselves first as opposed to taking care of ourselves first as opposed to putting somebody else or something else ahead of yourself. Exactly. And Andrew, we should also mention that there are so many different types of self-care, not just activities, but ways that you can relax, right? Not just activities, but ways that you can relax, right? Just how the stressors in our life are various. So are the ways just how the stressors in our life are various. So are the ways that we can heal ourselves. We can heal ourselves through some sort of physical self-care, mental self-care, spiritual self-care. The list could go on and on and on. Go on and on. Could go on and on. Stress out. Yeah. So why don't we get into some of the different things that you could actually do? Like you just mentioned, like you just mentioned, like you just mentioned, like you just said, like you just said, like you just mentioned, as you just mentioned, like you just mentioned. mental self-care, spiritual self-care, physical self-care. But I'm wondering what you think of all of those categories, Cassie. Like, for me, why don't we start with mental self-care? I think that is one that's really important, right? It's important that people take care of their mental health. For me, the first thing that pops into my mind is meditation, or maybe relaxing, doing some kind of a relaxation process or meditation practice. What about you, Cassie? Is that what you think of first as well? I think of that for others. I never meditate. I think of that. I think of that for others. I never meditate. For others. I think of that for others. I think of that for others. I never meditate. I think it's really good though. I should start. I think it's really good though. I should start. I think it's really good though. I should start. For me, I like to think a lot. I like to think a lot. Maybe before bed or bad, 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 bed, bed. Before bed or when I wake up in the morning, what went well throughout the day, what could be improved, or what I'm hoping for in the future. That could be stressful for some people too. But for me, or it organizes my thoughts. Yeah, that's almost kind of meditation. You know, there's a lot of different meditation practices out there, and I'm I'm by no means an expert, so I don't want to share too much wrong information accidentally. I am by no means an expert. 내가 절대 전문가는 아닌데 I'm by no means an expert. I'm by no means an expert. By no means. I'm by no means an expert. I'm by no means an expert. I'm by no means. 절대 난 전문가는 아닌데. I'm by no means an expert. By no means. I'm by no means an expert. I'm by no means expert, so I don't want to share too much wrong information accidentally. But there is one kind of meditative practice called mindfulness. And mindfulness is all about being aware of the thoughts. Is all. And mindfulness is all about 나오지 않았나? Is all about 그치 뭔가 다야 It's all about it is all about is all about is all about is all about mindfulness is all about being aware of being all about being aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. So instead of just running on automatic mode, it's about taking a moment and thinking about your thoughts and thinking about your feelings. And why do you think this way? And why do you think this way? Why do you feel this way? And being aware of your thoughts, which is something that, oddly enough, we don't do naturally, right? Which is something that oddly enough 이상하게도 we don't do naturally. 안 되잖아. Oddly enough. Oddly enough. Oddly enough, we don't do naturally, right? We have to actually put some effort into examining our thoughts, examining our feelings, and being aware and noticing how we feel and think. Examining. We have to put some effort into. We have to put some effort into examining our thoughts, examining our feelings, and being aware and noticing how we feel and think. And I think, Cassie, that sort of sounds like a form of mindfulness to me, like you're examining your day, examining what you want to do in the future. So, yeah, definitely, I would say that is self-care. And maybe we could even say it's a form of mindfulness. But like I said, I'm not an expert about the topic. I'm by no means an expert about the topic. By no means. Yeah, I think one more thing that people do for mental self-care is journaling. My sister is a big journaler and she does it for both happy events that she want to keep those memories up so she doesn't lose them, but also for sad events, sad events or things that anger her. When she writes them down in journal, it's almost like she's letting those memories go and they are being flushed into the pages instead of trapped in her mind and in her heart. Yeah, have you ever tried doing any journaling like that before? I recently tried myself. And I heard that writing a journal before you go to bed. Bad, bad. I heard that writing a journal before you go to bed at the end of the day is a really great practice that can help you get a more relaxed sleep. At the end of the day is a really great practice. That can help you get more relaxed sleep, especially if you tend to get stressed out about future and what you have to do in the future. So if you have many things to do the next day, or if you have a busy week coming up next week, then before you go to bed, you can write out about all of the things that you have to do and maybe talk about how you want to solve those problems or how you're going to handle them, something like that. And it doesn't have to be a long journal entry. It can just be a few sentences. I heard from a friend that is a really great thing to do before you go to bed. Before you go to bed, 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 bed. Before you go to bed, so that you kind of release it from your mind. And then when you go to bed, your mind's not ruminating on it. And that means thinking about it again and again and again. Thinking about it again and again and again. So you're not thinking about it again and again and again as you try to sleep, which is something that I personally have a problem with. Which is something that I personally have a problem with. I will go to bed and I will go to bed, 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 bed. I will go to bed, bed. I will go to bed and I will think about all the little things that I have to do the next day. And how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? How am I going to schedule my day? And so I thought this practice could be really great for me. So I gave it a I gave it a shot and it seems to work okay. But then I felt like it was too busy in my day to squeeze in it at the end of the day. So I only did it for like 3 days and then I kind of fell out of the practice, unfortunately. I only did it for 3 days. 3일밖에 안 했어. I only did it. I only did it for like 3 days. I only did it for like 3 days. I did it for like 3 days. And then I kind of felt like and then I kind of fell out of the practice. Unfortunately. It seems like it's a good thing to do. It seems like it's a good thing to do. But I had a hard time fitting it. I have a hard time fitting it into my schedule. Fit it into my schedule. I don't do it. I don't do it nowadays either. But I think it really helped me when I was young. Upper elementary school, middle school, high school. At that age. At that age. At that age. At that age, you have a lot of emotions, and they are strong emotions. And I remember getting so angry over things that I wouldn't even think about now as an adult. But writing in a journal really helped me to just release that anger. Yeah, absolutely. Teenage angst, right? Cassie, I was speaking just about sleep a moment ago, and we should talk about sleep because I think that is a big form of self-care actually is sleep. And in fact, this morning my wife had to wake up extra early. She had a special appointment this morning, so she had to wake up extra early. And as a result, I woke up as well. I'm a very, very light sleeper, and if she just makes like a slight little rustle or noise in the bedroom, Then I wake up, and also our dog woke up when my wife was up this morning. So the whole family was up. The whole family was up extra early today. And I got up and took the dog for a walk. And when I came home, it was still early in the morning. Now, some days I would just say, okay, I'm up, whatever. Let's get the day started. In fact, there would be normal kind of default mode. That's what I usually do. But today, I was feeling especially tired, and I had a kind of flexible morning schedule where I didn't really have to do anything at a certain time in the morning. So I just went back to bed. I just went to back to bed. That was like form of self-care, and I knew. Those are the best. The best days, right? I knew that we were recording this episode about self-care today as well, so I thought I should take care of myself. I should, get some sleep, get some rest, and feel rested up. And I think, in fact, that is one of the best ways that we can take care of ourselves is getting enough sleep. And it just doesn't make sense to put myself and grind out a bunch of work or do something like that if I'm tired. I might as well invest in a couple extra hours of sleep feeling good, and then I can just be more productive, more effective in my daily life. So I practiced I practiced some self-care this morning, and I slept for an extra 2 hours. It was awesome. Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I love those naps that you just kind of have pop up out of nowhere and kind of have pop up out of nowhere, and you're like you kind of feel like you have this happy present. It's just it's not a physical present, but you go, wow, I have free time. I can just use it the way I want. Another thing with sleep these days I've noticed is that I've really started going to bed early. Started I really started going to bed early. And it has improved my energy and my mental state so much. It it's not necessarily a self-care that you'd think about because it's just a daily routine kind of schedule, but that extra hour of sleep, going to bed an hour earlier than you normally would, is so beneficial. Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna say it, Cassie, and maybe you will disagree or agree. Maybe you will disagree or agree. Maybe you will agree or disagree. But I will say, it will go out on a limb. I will go out on a limb here and say sleep is the best thing you can do for your self care because like if you're talking about meditation or something, of course this is good. And of course, I think this is something that people should do if they're interested in it. It will be helpful for your life, and I've noticed in the past when I've done it, it's been helpful for me. But you don't notice a result immediately. It's not a tangible. It's not a tangible. It's not a tangible result. In fact, sometimes you have to practice for years and years and years. And it could be like learning a language almost. Like although you're making progress. Although you're making progress and you're moving forward. Although you're making progress and you're moving forward. Although you are making progress and you're moving forward. You don't always notice it. You don't always feel it. You don't always notice it. You don't always feel it. You don't always notice it and you don't always feel it. However, with sleep, it's like if you're tired and then you sleep and you get a good sleep, you wake up and you feel better. You feel better. I can speak for everyone, but at least for me, I can't speak for everyone. But at least for me, every time I go to sleep and I wake up, I feel better if I get a good sleep, right? It like always improves my mood. Improves my mood. It like always it improves my mood. It always improves my outlook and my ability to focus and to work and function well. All of these things get improved immediately, like after only 8 hours. It's amazing. So, yeah, I'm sure listeners who don't get enough sleep, they probably hear this all the time and they go, "Yeah, I know." But we're just gonna say here, it's true, guys. I know you hear it a million times, but believe it. So we talked a lot about mental self-care. We also kind of mentioned the spiritual self-care, but because I think meditation and mindfulness kind of get into that spiritual territory, and there's other different things that people can do to take care of their spiritual well-being, maybe depending on their religion or their personal beliefs. So maybe we won't get into that too much. But what about physical self-care, Cassie? We could say that sleep is a physical self-care. Sleep is like the ultimate self-care for everything. But what are some other self-care practices to help us improve our physical health? And what do you do physically to take care of your self-care? I have two. One of them is kind of a love-hate relationship, and that is exercise. I know every time before exercise it's kind of a stressor because I don't really want to go and I'm lazy. But when I'm actually doing the activity, it's a big stress relief. And you know, get the blood flowing, the endorphins running through my body, endorphin. So yeah, love-hate relationship. But another physical stress reliever self-care opportunity is getting some sort of massage or nail care or shampoo or something like that. It's really popular here in Thailand to get some sort of body self-care, and I have been taking full advantage of that while I've been living here. Take full advantage of take 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 full advantage of. Take full advantage of. Yeah, that's awesome, Cassie. That's great. And I agree that exercise, although it can be kind of a two-sided coin, right? There's the good part of exercise, like feeling good and having the endorphins surge through our body and having our mood elevated. All of these things are great, but at the same time, sometimes it can be bothersome and we can feel tired or have sore muscles after exercising. So yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages to that. Cassie, before we wrap it up, I want to ask you one other thing, and that is about treating yourself. Do you think treating yourself is a form of self care? Like if you had a really stressful week and then at the end of the week you treat yourself to a big piece of chocolate cake, or maybe you go to a hotel and you spend a night in a hotel in your city, and you enjoy the big king size fluffy bed and just relax or something like that. Like treating yourself, buying a present for yourself, is this a form of self-care? I do think it's a form of self-care, but I think it's a little bit like putting a band-aid on a giant cut. It soothe the wound for a little bit, but it doesn't really solve the issues lying underneath that caused the big amount of stress. Well said, Cassie. That brings us to the end of this lesson. To you talk to you next time. Bye.